Jurgen Klopp taking a job with Red Bull Football has pissed off a lot of people, but if we really stop and think about it, it makes a lot of sense, and I'm not sure where else he could have gone. A lot of options have been taken off the table. You don't have to like it. I understand if you don't like it, but it does make a lot of sense. We're going to talk about why that is next here on Pints and Punditry at the Pitchside Pub. The guy told us he was tired. Of course he went to Red Bull. The guy just needed an energy drink. Why are we shocked by this? I'm obviously being a little bit facetious, but if we stop and think about the move, Jurgen Klopp joining the Red Bull Football Group, it makes a lot of sense because so many other options had been taken off the table, and they'd been taken off by Jurgen Klopp himself. But I think this makes a lot of sense, and I don't think he's going to be there all that long, and we know why. But before we get into all that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me down below so you can follow the channel. Get down in that comment section. If you don't like him with Red Bull, then where should he have gone? Get down in that comment section. Let me know what you think. You can also leave comments on Twitter at Pitchside Pub and check out the website pitchsidepub.com. So I get why this, pisses a lot of people off, right? It's Red Bull. It's the Red Bull group. They're hated. I understand why. I'm not going to get into the whole circumventing the 50+1 rule and should they be allowed to do it and all that. I understand why people don't like the Red Bull group. They don't like RB Leipzig. They don't like RB Salzburg. They don't like the whole thing that they're doing. Fine, I get it. But let's think about this from Jurgen Klopp's view. Where else was he going to go? The guy didn't give himself a whole lot of other options, and frankly, I don't think fans would have liked too many of the other options either. When he retired, he said he was tired, right? I joked about the energy drinks, but really he said he was tired. This guy is an all-in manager, right? He controls every aspect of his organization, of his club, of his program, call it what you will. He is a completely controlling, hands-on kind of guy. He's not one of these managers that shows up, coaches his team, and leaves and lets the front office staff and the directors figure everything else out. No, he was involved at every level at Liverpool, totally all in, and that's just how he coaches. So of course it's exhausting, and it's why when he left Liverpool, he made it very clear, I am not leaving for another job, I am not going to go coach, you won't see me coaching anytime soon. That was made very clear, and I think, Liverpool fans probably appreciated that. I know I would if I was one. So it makes sense, but that eliminates all the coaching jobs, right? All the club jobs, all the national team jobs, everything. That eliminates that from the equation in terms of answering the question, where is Jurgen Klopp going to end up? Because we knew he would be employed eventually. He's not at full-on retirement age. He's not old enough to be just gone completely, unless he really wanted to be. But no one is shocked that he is re-entering the football world at some point somewhere. We didn't expect it to be here, now, with Red Bull, but I think we all knew that he would eventually be employed by a club or a country again. So we had to rule out all of the coaching jobs. And so that leaves only director and front office type positions, office jobs with clubs, overseeing clubs, technical directors, director of football operations. Every club has a different name for it, but some sort of administrative, overseeing the club and the player and the personnel type role. And that makes a lot of sense. Jurgen Klopp's a smart guy, and he always had a hand in those things. But where could he realistically have ended up doing that? I think we could rule out the entire Premier League. I don't think after a decade at Liverpool, he was going to go do even that for another Premier League club. He absolutely was not going to go coach another Premier League club, not right away. That would be devastating to Liverpool supporters, and I understand it. I'm with you on that one. But even seeing him in the press box, in the luxury suites, making personnel decisions, helping run another Premier League club that was competing with Liverpool, it would have been weird. It would have been hard to take. Liverpool fans, supporters, let me know what you would have thought about that had that been his re-entry. Is that better than going to Red Bull? I don't think it is. Imagine he's with Brighton, he's with Chelsea, he wouldn't go to Chelsea, but imagine he goes to a Premier League club and helps build them up. Is that better? I don't think it is. So I think we could have ruled out any connection with any Premier League club, at least for the foreseeable future. If he's not going to work with a Premier League club, it would have to be one of the bigger clubs in Europe. Well, the Real Madrids and the Barcelonas, they're not going to take him. They have their hierarchy with their president who is elected and is not going anywhere. He's not He's not taking the place of Johan Laporta and these guys that have been there for a long time and are elected by the membership. That's not an option. Those positions don't exist for Jurgen Klopp to enter that system, even if he wanted to. So those are out. PSG, he's not going to go there. That's a state-owned property that's just not going to happen. Look at Bayern Munich, right? They have their board of directors, their group of decision makers, and Uli Hoeneß, and he's not going there, and that would have been equally as devastating, I think, to Borussia Dortmund fans, who are the ones that are the most upset by this. And I understand it. Dortmund fans, I'm not telling you you're wrong to not like this. I'm telling you, what did you expect, really? Because I didn't see Dortmund offering him a position. I didn't see them offering him a director of football position, or a technical director position, or a president position, or whatever their hierarchy is. I didn't see those offers on the table. If I missed them, get down in those comments. Let me know where those were, because I did not see them. And if they weren't offering him that, and they probably should have been, and I don't know if he would have taken it, but I understand the connection there to a club you once coached, and now you see him go to not just another organization that has a Bundesliga club, but the one that everybody hates for reasons I understand. And to see him go there and it feels like a soulless organization, but this is their attempt to not be, right? You have to commend RB Leipzig on what they're doing. Yes, I understand the corporate nature of how they go about their business, and they rebranded a former club, and they got around the 50+1 rule, and that's why everybody hates them, and they feel like a soulless entity. And I get why people don't like that, but you have to commend them for trying to battle that, right? If you're ever going to try and get away from being a soulless corporate entity that owns football teams, hiring a beloved, respected football figure like Jurgen Klopp is a damn good way to do it. So you have to give him some credit there, but I understand why the Dortmund fans are upset by that. They could have tried to hire him. I didn't see that position on the table. But where else was Jurgen Klopp supposed to go? He wasn't going to go to some podunk club. He wasn't going to go down the table somewhere. If he's going to be in a front office type position, it was going to be for one of the major players. And no, RB Leipzig, which is the flagship club of the Red Bull group, they're far and away the most successful and most prestigious, I use that term loosely, but the most successful and I would say highest ranking, for lack of a better term, club in the Red Bull portfolio. They, on their own merit, would not be big enough to get Jurgen Klopp to join, but the group in and of itself, with all of the clubs that they own, is. It is. And Red Bull, an RB Leipzig, I should say, is looking to make that jump from now a major player in the Bundesliga to an actual contender. And that is my biggest criticism of the Red Bull ownership group, is they have put all this money into their club to get them to relevancy, and they've done it, whether you like them or not, they've been successful at what they've intended to do. You can argue whether they should have been allowed to do it, but you can't argue that they've had success doing it. But they haven't gotten over that hump, and part of that is because they're using it as a money-making opportunity, which is the whole reason they shouldn't have been allowed to do it in the first place. I understand that. But I'd like to see them invest to get themselves over the hump and actually be a contender in the Bundesliga. Again, I understand why people hate that and don't want to see it, but if you're going to invest in a club, do it right and make them winners. Don't just see it as a profiteering organization. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here. Klopp didn't have a lot of other options. We listed the other clubs he could have gone to. They don't have a spot for him. They don't have the structure for him. But the Red Bull Group is a massive footballing entity. Again, whether you like it or not, they're there. And they are influential in the football world. And now he gets to be the director of global football. And it was clear that he wasn't going to settle for anything smaller than that type of position. And it's also clear that he's got his eyes somewhere else. And there is a clause in his contract with Red Bull that allows him to leave for one job and one job only, and it is the German national team head coaching position. And that tells you everything you need to know. If and when he re-enters the coaching world, that's the job he wants. And I understand that. And he didn't really have a lot of other options. Julian Nagelsmann has that job right now. It wasn't available. They weren't going to fire him just to hire Klopp. And frankly, Klopp probably meant what he said when he said, I need a break. He doesn't want it right now. He wants it when Nagelsmann's done with it, whether that's in 2 years because the DFB gets tired of him, or whether he wins some stuff and he gives it up in 10 years. Who knows? But Klopp will be there at the ready, and it will be his job, I'm sure, when the time comes. But he also needed to stay relevant in the meantime. You can't just retire, not coach for 4 or 5 years, not work in football, not do anything. He's not even doing punditry, right? He's off vacationing and hanging out with his family. You can't do that and then expect to just come coach the German national team 5 years later. He had to stay relevant. He had to stay involved in football somehow. And landing in a job like this, where you can probably come and go as you please, and it's more of a consultancy than anything else, is an ideal spot for a tired guy who wants to stay relevant till his dream job opens up. I get it. So you don't have to like it because you don't like Red Bull and you don't like what they're doing. But you have to understand it. You have to understand it from Red Bull's standpoint, trying to gain some legitimacy. You have to understand it from Jurgen Klopp's standpoint, trying to stay relevant and stay available and stay up to speed without having to continue to be a coach, so that when the German job comes available, he can get it. It makes sense all around. And frankly, I don't know where else he could have checked all those boxes. If you can think of another job where he could have checked those boxes without being a coach, staying relevant, and able to go get the German job when the time comes, I would love to hear what that job could have been, because I can't think of what it could be. And frankly, this one makes a lot of sense. But if you can think of it, get down in that comment section. Let me know what you think. You can also leave comments on Twitter at PitchsidePub. While you're at it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me down below so you can follow the channel. And of course, check out the website, pitchsidepub.com. Thanks as always for joining us here on Pints and Punditry at the Pitchside Pub.